Just how much do Taiwanese people love coffee? The answer is nearly 3 billion cups a year, creating an output value of 80 billion. In this fiercely competitive market, besides the familiar Starbucks and Louisa, even Luckin Coffee from China plans to challenge them. The battle is getting intense. After all, in the Chinese market, Luckin used big data to create hits that sell a billion cups a year, leaving even Starbucks struggling to keep up. How exactly is the digital revolution ignited by Luckin changing the rules of the global coffee market, and how should Taiwan respond? Do you remember that sensational deal that rocked all of Taiwan in 2017? At the time, Uni President made a decision that left everyone stunned. They sold their highly profitable Shanghai Starbucks stake to the US headquarters and bought back full control of Taiwan Starbucks. The media overwhelmingly claimed that Uni President was trading a golden goose for a mere chicken, a total loss. But do you really think they were happy to sell? The driving force behind this deal was actually Starbucks' new CEO at the time, Kevin Johnson. As a tech executive from Microsoft, he launched a massive digital transformation upon taking office, with China holding a huge market and massive data as his final piece of the puzzle. No one expected that Johnson's gamble would plant a ticking time bomb for Starbucks' future, because Starbucks never relied on technology. It relied on the humanistic vibe and spatial atmosphere crafted by founder Howard Schultz. With this unique charm, Starbucks went from a small Seattle cafe in the 90s to a global listed company. But unlike Schultz, Johnson is a data-driven techie. After regaining control of the Chinese market, he began testing a brand new AI platform there, hoping to roll it out globally once matured. In 2019, this AI platform called Deep Brew officially launched. It could provide pinpoint personalized recommendations on the app based on weather, time, location, and your past ordering habits. At the time, Johnson's slogan sounded great. He claimed that pouring money into AI wasn't about replacing humans, but letting machines handle tedious tasks so baristas could smile at customers and create a warm atmosphere. But in the US market, this statement was hit hard by reality, and the problem lay in that AI platform, Deep Brew, and its recommendations. Every customer's drink is different. From milk types and sweetness levels to toppings, everything can be mixed and matched, resulting in over 170,000 possible drink combinations. This makes preparing each cup incredibly complex, especially those viral TikTok-style drinks, which are basically a barista's nightmare. The result is that it takes longer for baristas to make coffee, causing constant bottlenecks at the counter and leaving the storefronts packed with impatient customers and delivery drivers. To solve this, Starbucks even opened stores without seating, letting customers grab their coffee and go, which essentially meant abandoning the space experience they were once most proud of. As a result, baristas shifted from being the soul of the shop to becoming assembly line operators. With endless orders to process every day, a friendly smile became a luxury. Eventually, employees couldn't take it anymore and took to the streets to protest and strike, while customers hoping for a nice cup of coffee in store grew increasingly disappointed, feeling that it had become a cold, sterile place, no longer the Starbucks they once knew. In May 2024, Starbucks released its financial report showing a 3% decline in same-store sales in the US, its first negative growth since the pandemic. The stock price plummeted 16%, wiping out about $16 billion in market value, as the company appeared to be falling apart. In 2025, Starbucks brought in a new CEO, Brian Niccol. His most famous achievement in the restaurant industry was reviving the struggling Mexican food brand, Chipotle. Upon taking office, Niccol didn't talk about AI or big data. He just shouted a slogan so simple it brought tears to the eyes of loyal fans: "Back to Starbucks." He mandated that all stores across the US return to the tradition of handwriting customer names on cups and even encouraged employees to draw smiley faces or write simple greetings. He wanted to bring back the human touch eroded by technology, and the criticized grab and go stores are expected to close by the end of 2026. According to the latest results released in early 2026, Starbucks' same-store sales in the US and globally saw a turnaround, growing by 4%, with overall revenue surging to $9.9 billion. Why would Starbucks lose in the highly anticipated Chinese market to a company founded only in 2017? On May 17, 2019, the Nasdaq welcomed a miracle. China's Luckin Coffee successfully went public in just 18 short months, setting a record for the fastest IPO in the world, with its market value soaring to $12 billion. However, no one expected that the Luckin bubble would burst even faster than it grew, and the reason was simple. They were burning through cash way too quickly. Back then, Luckin Coffee operated as digital kiosks rather than traditional storefronts. Their shops had few, if any, seats, forcing customers to order via the app and grab their drinks to go. While this model kept operating costs low, Luckin was obsessed with crushing Starbucks, frantically opening an average of 6 new stores every single day. By the end of 2019, they had opened over 4,500 locations, with annual rent costs alone reaching 1.6 billion RMB. The store opening costs were just the beginning. To attract non-coffee drinkers, they went on a massive spending spree, offering 72% or 82% off, or even free drinks, copying the burn cash to grab market share tactic from Chinese e-commerce, until they nearly burnt themselves out. The high cost of rapid expansion combined with endless subsidies made healthy cash flow impossible. To keep attracting capital for survival, Luckin executives resorted to cooking the books, but they couldn't hide the truth forever. On January 31, 2020, a well-known short-selling firm called Muddy Waters exposed the entire scheme. Once the news broke, Luckin's stock plummeted over 80%, and after just a few months of glory, they were kicked off the Nasdaq. Fascinatingly, Luckin didn't die. By late 2020, new boss Guo Jinyi took over the mess. Funds were gone and their reputation was ruined, but he knew the only valuable asset left was the app that tracked every customer transaction. They began analyzing the massive amount of data like scientists, eventually concluding that young Chinese consumers dislike bitterness. They didn't want real coffee, they wanted coffee that tasted like tea. With this breakthrough, Luckin started operating like a tech firm, breaking down coffee flavors, sweetness, aroma, milkiness, into quantifiable data, building a database, and using AI to analyze trends on platforms like Xiaohongshu and Douyin to create the perfect drink. In April 2021, the coconut latte, calculated into existence, was born, selling a staggering 100 million cups in just 1 year. By 2023, they used the same method to devise the Motai-infused latte. You heard that right, they combined heavy-scented Chinese liquor with coffee. Once launched, this product sold 5.42 million cups in a single day, breaking 100 million RMB in daily sales, and Luckin store counts surged past 10,000. The more stores you open, the harder they are to manage. One wrong move and you're back to burning cash like in the early days. But Luckin got smart this time. They let data handle everything. Just look at hit items like the coconut latte or the ginger latte. These unique flavors are pre-mixed at the factory and packaged into individual prepared ingredient sachets. Store staff just need to tear open the pack, pour it in, and hit a button. A cup is ready in seconds. The supply chain is the same. The headquarters AI system calculates exactly how many milk bottles and coffee bean bags each store needs tomorrow based on weather and sales trends. To prevent supply shortages, Luckin went straight to the source, securing entire coconut harvests and investing heavily to build China's largest coffee roasting plant in Jiangsu. This way, Luckin keeps labor and raw material costs for thousands of stores firmly under control, focusing on the product and supply chain instead of just price wars or gimmicky sales tactics. By 2025, Luckin's store count in China surpassed 30,000, with annual revenue exceeding $7 billion United States dollars. A full, powerful comeback. What about their biggest rival, Starbucks? In the US, Starbucks was seen as losing its soul due to misguided digitalization. In China, they fell behind because their digitalization wasn't thorough enough. High store costs from maintaining counters and seating, combined with an inability to leverage data for innovation, left them getting crushed by Luckin in both operations and products. In 2025, Starbucks' annual revenue in China was only 3.1 billion United States dollars, less than half of Luckin's, and their 8,000 stores were not even a third of Luckin's total. After dominating the Chinese market, Luckin set its sights abroad, expanding through Singapore and Malaysia, even challenging Starbucks on its home turf in the US. And now, they've even set their sights on Taiwan. You might not know that Taiwan consumes over 2.85 billion cups of coffee annually, with an average of 200 cups per person, a market Luckin naturally doesn't want to miss. By the end of 2025, rumors swirled that Luckin was preparing to enter Taiwan. Although not officially confirmed, their two big rivals, Starbucks and Louisa, have already spoken out. One is calm and ready to face the challenge, while the other is already mocking their chances. This confidence isn't without reason. Under the same group's management, Starbucks Taiwan has carved out a path completely different from the US and Chinese markets. For example, they've built the massive Dream Plus flagship store in the Xinyi district and opened stunning shops across Taiwan, turning stores into tourist attractions and polishing the experience brand even brighter than the US headquarters. If people in China are drinking coffee like it's milk tea, then in Taiwan, they might be drinking it for the decor. The local leader, Louisa Coffee, focuses on a lifestyle vibe, offering plenty of power outlets and affordably priced coffee and snacks. For many students and office workers, it's a godsend as a study center or mobile office. With nearly 600 locations across Taiwan, their store count is no less impressive than Starbucks. However, Luckin Coffee is also quite clever. From their expansion from China to overseas, they've never faced off directly against traditional cafes. They target customers who want to grab and go without needing seats, as well as younger crowds who love creative specialty drinks. But this path has long been monopolized by ubiquitous convenience stores. Data shows that as many as 60% of Taiwanese consumers buy coffee most often at convenience stores. Take 7-Eleven City Cafe, for instance. Its annual revenue in 2023 reached 17.1 billion NTD, a figure even higher than the 15 billion NTD Starbucks makes from selling coffee, cakes, merchandise, and everything else combined. The most awkward part is that if Luckin intends to replicate its successful Chinese model to compete for the takeout cup market in Taiwan's convenience stores, they might want to rethink it. On price, Luckin's subsidies are aggressive, with a large classic latte costing about 45 NTD. But Taiwan's convenience stores rely on bulk purchasing to keep costs at rock bottom, allowing consumers to use their apps to get a large classic latte for just 30 to 40 something NTD. For convenience, there are over 13,000 stores across Taiwan. You're never more than a few steps away from a 7-Eleven or Family Mart. In busy downtown areas, you might even find a 7-Eleven across from another 7-Eleven. Does Luckin have a way to match that? As for creative specialty drinks, Taiwan's tea shops and convenience stores aren't afraid either. Various seasonal and collaborative new products are released constantly, and they are more localized and better at catering to Taiwanese tastes. And don't forget, the success of Luckin's creative flavors relied on heavy early-stage subsidies and rapid expansion, compounded by the massive scale of the Chinese market. By leveraging transparent consumer behavioral data, they can pinpoint the preferences of their audience. However, with intense competition in Taiwan's coffee market and fragmented payment methods, it is difficult for Luckin to use the same data to replicate its success from China. It must be said that Taiwanese convenience stores have established a unique social system that represents the Taiwanese pursuit of extreme value for money. The superhuman work ethic of their staff, remaining patient and kind despite exhaustion, is truly a Taiwanese miracle. If Luckin wants a slice of the Taiwanese coffee market, perhaps they should consider how to collaborate with convenience stores rather than compete with them. When an ancient beverage like coffee meets modern digital technology, the outcomes for different companies and markets vary drastically. Starbucks tried to use technology to improve service quality in the US, but lost its original soul, failing to win over both baristas and consumers. Conversely, Luckin turned everything over to data-driven decisions and made a comeback in China. Local Taiwanese businesses, meanwhile, have found a survival model that perfectly balances efficiency and hospitality. This proves that digital transformation has no standard answer. Different markets and demographics require different approaches. Have you ever tried Luckin's creative coffee? Have you experienced the service at a Starbucks in the US? Let us know in the comments.